So you've decided to make your way through Baldur's Gate, the entire series. We're going to do BG1, Siege, BG2, Throne. We're literally going to go from level 1 all the way to unlock literal godhood. And without giving away any spoilers, making that decision to claim your birthright or not. So jumping into that, and certainly in playing Baldur's Gate, if you're new to the series, absolutely allow yourself that freedom of exploration to run through the entire story. You might want to do that regardless of character class. Now, on a side note, I've pushed up some character class reviews and some Tactica to the Baldur's Gate playlist here on my blog. Going through the entire, I was going to say campaign, the entire storyline 2 or 3 times, maybe even 4 times with different character classes is going to play out differently. There's a lot of side quests. There's a lot of branches to the primary quest. There's a lot of dialogue options. And much like watching an epic movie and discovering it as it unfolds, naturally little things get missed. Naturally little background items that you might not notice. And again, no spoilers, you do notice. So those first few times, you're going to play completely through and have the discovery. Then usually what happens at that point, you settle on a character class that you really enjoy playing, and you begin to explore certain aspects of the game, meaning you don't need to go through BG1 again. Maybe you do Siege, and maybe you just enjoy, let's call it a module, even though it's a completely separate game. Maybe you just enjoy that module of play. Maybe you just want to go through Throne and play it from that perspective. So we see that for a little while, which then leads to the question, you've played through the main saga a few times, you've gone through some of the individual games. What do we plan out when we're looking to do a totality run, meaning go from level 1 all the way to the top, maybe even play solo? What are some of those considerations? I find personally playing through the game, loving the game, enjoying the game, there's so many possibilities in different combinations, especially if you're doing solo. You kind of restart. You play, you get a great idea, and you're like, I'm loving this idea. And then you say, well, this would be actually really cool. Or there's an encounter where you see a possibility, and you say, let me do this. And you might restart over and play it from that way. What I do to counter that or to have longevity, or in deciding if I do a primary run through, especially if it's solo, to the very end, I look at the high-level abilities. Because once you know the story, experience points kind of become secondary. There will be things that you naturally skip in the game because I don't need the experience points, or I can gain them up in other areas. So I won't say speed run through 1 Siege into 2, but you tend to be able to go a little bit faster. I'd love to give some specific examples in BG1, but that would be some spoilers. I will say that at the start of the game, there are, not using an editor, not using anything that's not literally legal, playable, there are ways to level up very, very quickly. Level 5, level 6, level 7, level 5 or 6, depending on the character class, or level 4, 5, or 6, instantly before you even deal with chapter 1. So from that perspective, you tend to move much quicker. The staying power is going to be high-level abilities. So I start backwards when I'm looking at a run to select a character class. I say to myself, what high-level abilities would I really like to leverage? Because when we make it into Throne, when we make it into the end, that's where I want to soak up the story. That's where I really want to look and ask myself, okay, how do we play this? What do we do? From that perspective, that's the consideration. And that's what I would say when preparing for a campaign run, having played through a few times, that's the decision point for me.